Yes, folks, you guessed it. It's time for another talk. Your next speaker of the 2021 CityJS conference is ERICK, who is coming to us today from Sao Paulo in Brazil. This session promises to give you 10 secrets that will help you improve your Node.js application security, but even if you don't use Node.js, this talk is going to have something there for you. One thing is for sure, you're going to need your security hat. Don't forget to post along on social media using the hashtag CityJS2021, as well as keep the comments rolling in on YouTube. We've really enjoyed seeing everything that you've been enjoying today so far. ERICK, without further ado, it is over to you.
Yay, my friends! I am ERICK Wendel and I'm from Brazil. I used to work as a software consultant and nowadays I've been working as a professional trainer and speaker focused on teaching about advanced JavaScript. This is my 100th talk and I'm thrilled to share with you some thoughts about Node.js security and not only Node.js but also JavaScript in general. Firstly, you might ask yourself, who cares about app security? I've seen that people unfortunately don't care much about the security of their infrastructure. Most of them only would care if something bad had already happened. Their security is mostly like this gift. They trust in anyone to access their sensitive data. They share the same user and password between users. They share insecure passwords stored in plain text. They share password over the teams and so on. They often build application with one thing in mind: release new app versions and features whatever it costs. Their speech is just, oh, let's release it now, then we're gonna fix later. However, the fix itself never comes. Look at the sprint screen. It was from November 2018. That was one of the greatest scandals in the Node.js ecosystem. The event stream library had compromised with some third-party dependency package called FlatMap Stream and affected millions of packages around the globe. The malicious code attempted to steal bitcoins stored in the Copay Wallets, and it worked as a backdoor, sending users' data to the third-party app. Another huge vulnerability was reported in 2019. The prototype pollution vulnerability could change JavaScript object instances. It could also add unsafe code resulting in code injections and sometimes denial of service attacks. It affects all versions of Lodash, jQuery, and many other packages. Zooming on to the Lodash description, look at the detail. More than 80 million downloads per month, shipped to more than 4.35 million projects around the globe. The problem is, this vulnerability had always been on these packages. Only in 2019 the problem was reported and fixed. Scary, isn't it? On the other hand, there are people thinking if they move all the infrastructure to some cloud platform, it would solve most of the app security problems they have. AWS, Google, Azure, and other platforms have provided great tools to make sure you won't be attacked. However, it's not as simple as it looks like. There is a known virtual attack called CashOverflow Attack. Have you ever used serverless platforms? It's commonly happen on serverless platforms. This kind of apps is built to scale and to support thousands of simultaneous connections. You pay per request, time spent, and machine resources. If you forget to add API keys or an API gateway to identify when an attack has happened, it certainly will be a problem. The CashOverflow attack is an attack to exploit your resources and make you spend your whole money on them. Once you pay per use, if your app is unsecurely published, attackers can find your endpoints and request it recursively until you spend all your financial resources. Those are just a few examples. I left some reference at the end of this presentation to go deeper and find out some risks you might be exposed to. Maybe we might have a checklist to check about your apps to avoid wasting money or even worse, lost your customers' trust. Before we go on, this presentation is already live, so you can review all the links and reference I've been mentioning here. Also, print this screen and share it on your social media. Mention me and the event on your Twitter, on other social media apps. It will be amazing for me to get to know if it has been useful for you. About this talk, I will start with simple examples and level up the complexity during the slides. My goal is to show examples that you can replicate your daily job. I won't code today, but I have dozens of links if you want to code it all. Start with the 10th secret: do not block the event loop. Understand the JavaScript's life cycle. Long-running processing apps are commonly avoided in Node.js for some reasons. Is it because Node.js is a single thread threaded platform? No, it's because it wasn't designed for high processing in memory. There's another smart way of doing it. In this example, you can see someone doing an update on a CSV file. It has more than 1 million items. The developer is trying to iterate in all items at once, and the event loop certainly will block until the process has gone. If someone else tries to request the API, all new requests will be denied. This is a super common attack called denial of service, or just a developer mistake. To solve it, there is one of my favorite Node.js features, the Node.js Streams. They are built to help you to process large amounts of data on demand without blocking your application. On my website, I have a talk that I gave in another event talking about Node.js Streams from 0 to advanced. I'll let in the reference to you watch it later and see if it be useful for you. The previous example was rebuilt using the Node.js Streams strategy. We are gonna process it on demand, split this file into small pieces so we can process it. Firstly, you have your file. The file becomes a buffer, which is a block of information. Node.js splits this block into chunks or pieces of your file. Now you are processing your file on demand. Each file's entry will have a different unit of execution. Parsing it to JSON, mapping fields, or saving on external resource if needed. Another situation you may be aware of, it's about regular expressions. Look how a simple text can break a whole Node.js program. Here, I'm writing a Portuguese word, which means, hey bro, how are you and how are you? Debugging on regex 101, we can see how many interactions it did before throwing the catastrophic backtracking error. Just to get to know about the risk of it, if we get the same code and run it on the Node.js side, look how long it took to run this expression. The problem is regular expressions. No, surely no. Nowadays, there are a lot of packages to check if your regular expression is safe to use. I will leave you on the reference some packages for you to try it out. An API gateway is the best way to protect your web services from the outside world. You can create API keys and configure how your customers will use your services. If someone requests your services too many times, you can put them on a blocked list and cut all connections if needed. You can configure rate limit, throttling, federation, and much more. You can also specify how your infrastructure will be exposed to the outside world. Your app can be running on an isolated environment, and the API gateway will filter all accesses and provide the front door you need. Once there is something terrible happening on your current systems, it won't expose any sensitive information to your consumers. You can return a custom message and handle it at home. Avoid sequential identifiers and default ports. As much as I've worked with consultancy customers, more often I see these scenarios. I've seen it so often that I decide to put it here. The first time you look at this title, you might think, oh, but this is so obvious. Yeah, my friend, it be obvious for you, but not for everyone. The most common error is to let your application services exposed, even so on its default ports. Attackers would scan your domain and figure out how to access, either by brute force or using a weakened password we've just created. The same problem applies to your web API routes. I've seen people letting their URL something like user/1 to get the user who has its ID as 1. Once attackers know the logic on your routes, they can increment the user's ID and obtain your entire database. Use UID package instead, or even any strategy to avoid incremental IDs. Ooh, this is more common over here. We should update, scan, and predict what our packages are doing. I have some questions for you. Firstly, how often do you update your NPM packages? Do you have any strategy? Tell me here on the chat or on Twitter. Secondly, how do you know if a dependency is safe to use? This is an amazing package of my friend Little Town. The package itself will detect known vulnerabilities and subdependencies and show them on your screen. To do so, it's not so magic. This tool is linked to the Snyk Vulnerability DB, where you can search and know what's going on with some packages. Recently, they built a security scanner plugin for the VS Code. Once you import it on your code, it shows stats. Amazing, isn't it? Also, in February, Isaac from NPM published a blog post about tips to avoid supply chain attacks, or in other words, dependency confusion. This is mostly focused on package maintainers. There is a list of what you can do to avoid pulling wrong dependencies on your project what source to use and to trust, and so on. If you do so, stop using the request package. The request package has been deprecated for a year as of this week and continues to get 26 million downloads per week. My sixth secret is about how to manage environment variables. When I talk to some developers about how they manage app secret, environment variables, and so on, they look like this image. Once I was called to take a look at the platform my friend was building. According to him, the platform was almost cracker-proof. They had run stress tests, main tools, and finally they wanted some person to try it. The problem was, they allowed developers to upload code on the platforms to run some routines. Through the section for developers, I just ran process.end command. And guess what? I got all environment variables, including database passwords. There is a lot of automation running on GitHub that has caught password floating freely in public repositories. Don't put your password and app secrets in plain text through your applications. If you work with some cloud platform, I would recommend you to take a look at their secrets manager. I've been using AWS for my own systems to store secrets throughout many apps. The AWS System Manager has helped a lot with it. I've been using it with AWS ECS tests or AWS Lambda. For AWS Lambda, I've been using the serverless framework. They have a plugin to help you set all values before deploying the app or even to get the variables from the AWS SDK itself. Once you started it there, you can configure how it will be accessed, who can access it, and how you will inject into your apps. If your systems are based on Kubernetes, there is a good service I tried called Copay Wallets. It follows the same idea. You inject your environment variables and configure rules to access it. Managing more dependencies and services would be painful for some developers and sysadmins. It should be any way to publish my secrets on GitHub safely, shouldn't it? Indeed, my friend. GitCrypt is a tool that lets you have your own crypto key and encrypt your data on your public repositories. Only the key owner has the ability to get the plain text as it was before. And now you can easily make different versions of your passwords using it. Let it public without words. You only have to keep hidden the main key itself. Be careful when using Docker. This might be a little out of the Node.js world, but it's in some way related. Many people are exposing their apps to the world using Kubernetes, Docker platforms base, and so on. Do not expose the Docker daemon socket. Once an application can access it, it would exploit all your applications running on the same cluster. Limit capabilities. Grant only specific capabilities needed by a container. And finally, set the file system and volumes to read-only. If your application doesn't need to write data on the disk, you should limit it to. And the last but not least, don't use Docker Compose in production. I know that seems obvious, but it's good to know. If your application has crashed, Docker Compose is not capable of scaling it or even restarting it. To do so, I highly recommend you using Kubernetes instead. Still talking about the environment, handle network policies. If you're using Kubernetes, you can deny all traffic to the outside world. By the way, on the Node.js side, there's a module for policies that is still experimental, but it looks amazing. We can define how our modules can be accessed and who they can access. Amazing, isn't it? And my tip number 3 is about tooling and stat code analysis. We should know if our code is safe before publish, shouldn't we? I will let on the references slide some packages for you to take a look at. I chose here some of my favorites that you should try out. The first one is ESLint Security plugin, or ESLint itself. It's one of the best sets of rules for our code. They can identify unsafe code during the compiling time. It's amazing to find problems before going to production. The ESLint Security package would help you to detect unsafe regular expressions, unsafe shell execution using Node.js function exec, eval statements. However, this package is not focused on Node.js. For the Node.js platform, I would recommend the ESLint Security node. It's even powerful. It detects potential places for SQL, NoSQL injection, HTML injection, XSS attacks, insecure misconfiguration for cookies, and much more. If you haven't seen this model yet, you should take a look. SonarQube is one of the best tools of the moment. You can have a server that detects code smells, code that doesn't follow your specification, and notify you and your teams with improvement reports. There are a lot of plugins to add and increase security as well. I was wondering to make an app using the Raspberry Pi when working on the office, linked to the repository. Now imagine, every time Sonar finds a code smell, bad practice, or even a code vulnerability, the app says the name and the vulnerability with some joke on it. It'd be fun, but I'm not sure if the team would like someone yelling their name on the middle of the day. And of course, I highly recommend using the Sneak platform. Most of my references here I got from their open source work and experience. One of the coolest things about them is the interaction with GitHub and the ability to scan your pull requests. My top 2 is about monitoring. As a performance consultant, it was hard to find the bottlenecks on my customer systems when they didn't have any tool to monitor their apps. I've always said to my customers, we should know a problem before our customers. The best scenario is for us to call our customers and explain the situation before they find out the system is unstable. I haven't used many tools for observability, but New Relic and AppDynamics were the most popular platforms my customers used to use. The good part of these cloud platforms is that you can get alarms, get reports, and find easily where the bottleneck is. I have already lost count of how many customers came to me saying that their Node.js app was slow. Then I realized that the problem was actually the database configuration, inefficient queries, and so on. As you can see, this talk is about security, but security is on all ends of your infrastructure. It would be part of your performance, continuous delivery process, team management, code base, disaster recovery strategies, and of course, the general observability. And observability shouldn't be only about code itself. We also should know what our team is doing on the platform we use. My customers love using AWS CloudTrail. They track everything everyone is doing on the platform. It's good to know how your costs increased based on the user's activity, how many machines are up during the period, and so on. Oh, actually talking about developers' permissions on the infrastructure. Tell me here on the chat, on Twitter, how you people are managing access to the new developers on your company, generating passwords, granting permissions, and etc. We still struggle to grant all access new developers need to start working on their onboard process. I would love to hear from you. And my top 1 secret is never ever let your computer unlocked after using it. I love to prank my friends, even my entrepreneur friends. I remember in the past, I left my PC with a friend and he had created a virus to call my name every 5 minutes. It also opened some pages on the browsers and controlled the machine's volume. It drove me crazy the first time, but I revenged myself. I got his PC unlocked and did nothing. He spent a day trying to figure out what I did to his PC. It was super fun. Nowadays, I used to do something less intrusive on my friends just to show them how they may be exposed. I changed their wallpapers, leave comments on notepads, and so on. I warn them. Imagine if someone takes control of their machine, they transfer money, they use bank accounts, download sensitive documents, and much more. For my developer friends, I built an extension for VS Code who replaced all commas for the Greek question mark. On this demo, as you can see, there's a C# application running. The extension replaces this symbol and the whole program breaks. This extension was built using TypeScript and all source code is available to you to take a look and get some ideas. It was something to prank my friends, but I'm sure you can get something good from there for your personal projects. My girlfriend is also a developer. She let her computer unlocked and imagine what I did. I built an extension that simulates git merge flags on every file opened. This was something for fun, but imagine what someone with bad intentions would have done. This app is built using JavaScript, and you can access the source code here on the references slide as well. Remember, this was only something I created for fun and to show the power of the tool. If I am amateur at creating this kind of apps, can you imagine what a professional can do? In conclusion, app security would be hard if you try to solve it all at once. Do it in small steps. You can start with the external part of your software backend, creating access rules, adding plugins that prevent attacks, refactoring code, and especially running the tools I've mentioned here. You could also hire someone to make a pen test on your system and deliver reports. Most of the problems I've found were easy to find, but was hard to find out it was a problem. Use the ESLint and security rules as much as possible. Add automation to check your database in every deployment and especially every new pull request. It would avoid releasing unsafe code to the production. Remember, if your company doesn't have any reports of your attack on their apps, it doesn't mean that they're safe. It only means that they haven't figured it out yet. Guys, I love being with you today. I hope this talk was of great use to you. This presentation and all presentations I've given are already on my website. Please reach me out on Twitter and let me know how was this content for you. I'm ERICK Wendel. Stay safe and I see you soon. Obrigado.
Eric, that was a brilliant talk. Thank you very much for delivering it at this year's CityJS conference. I'm sure the audience will be putting those 10 top tips into practice for improving their application security as soon as they next sit down to write some code. But to everyone watching along at home, shh, remember, they're secrets. No, I'm joking. Tell everybody about them. We should be making software as secure as is humanly possible. Please join me in giving Eric a huge, around the world, round of applause. Brilliant. Thank you very much, everybody who's joined in on that one. If you would like to put some questions to Eric about his talk, maybe you want to turn it up to 11 and get that extra tip out of him, join us on GatherTown for the Q&A session, which will be starting momentarily, or post along on social media using the hashtag CityJS2021 or the comment section on YouTube and let us know what you thought of that talk. See you in a minute. Eric, that was a fantastic talk. Thank you very much for delivering it as part of today's CityJS. Have you got any comments after your success?
Woo, it's so nice, really nice. I hope you guys watching are really satisfied with the content. I have to give some excuse about the editing, so I cut a little shorter some takes, but I hope you like it because I tried to remove some briefing takes, but yeah, I tried my best, so I thank you.
And I'm sure your best was more than good enough.
Great.
Excellent. So we had a few questions come in already, so we'll get straight into it and then we'll carry on yapping if we have time.
Perfect.
We'll answer the attendees' questions first. I think they're more important than mine. So the first one comes from Andre. Would you recommend standard JS code formatting to prevent semicolon trolling?
I mean, I think this is not about the pattern. Like, I would recommend actually an extra checking, like a continuous integration test. Like you make a pull request, go to the GitHub, like you have a GitHub action to check your code, to link. Actually, you can link your code before sending to GitHub, but it will be like an extra layer. I don't think like adding like a pattern in your code would help in something, because you are supposing that someone else could like change your code base and publish your GitHub. So you should prevent all of this stuff to go into your repository, I think.
Okay, that's a good way of looking at it. If other people are going to contribute, you make sure that everybody's using the same pattern. Can't argue with that answer, Eric. So another one from Andre. Andre's been very popular today on the comments. So he's looking at the NPM JS website and specifically at the ESLint plugin security. And he's saying it was last updated 4 years ago. Would you still recommend it?
Yeah, actually, I have to give an excuse because I haven't used much the ESLint plugin, because this is why I said, oh, we have the ESLint exclusively for Node, so I would recommend this Node. Like I said, oh, this exists, but I highly recommend for Node the ESLint plugin for Node, which has like the last update was 5 months ago. Yeah, and actually I look at the NPM website and all of the stuff. It doesn't look like they will keep going with like the ESLint plugin, but so keep going with the Node one, which would be better.
Okay, so, but generally speaking, do you think that for something that's not been updated in 4 years, I mean, that's abandonware, right?
Yeah, I mean, I look at the forum on the NPM. It looks like the company, the Node Security, was bought by the NPM, and I don't know, but they might like got some code and put on the NPM audit or some like internal test for NPM. So, I mean, it's not good to go like 4 years ago. I mean, it depends. Yeah, we have a lot of discussion because imagine, ESLint plugin is not the same of the request. Like the request, we can find a vulnerability because it's exposed to the customer. Using the ESLint vulnerability, you can find a lot of like issues from the past, like which is still relevant. So you can install it, you can still make all the rules, but for like between this time, 4 years ago to now, may appear a lot of new vulnerabilities, and maybe these new vulnerabilities are not on the ESLint plugin. So it makes sense like to keep ESLint plugin with something else, or actually the ESLint Node plugin would be better, I think.
Okay, that's a good answer, to be honest. You know, stick with what's
Yeah,
there.
because I mean, all depends what you're doing. Like a lot of people are on the code base like 4 years ago, so this is pretty hard to answer.
Fair enough. So the next one is not actually a question; it's just a congratulations, apparently, from everybody in Brazil on YouTube.
Ooh, nice.
I'm interested. What's the tech scene like in Brazil? Is there lots of conferences normally that us people can
Like,
apply for?
yeah, right now it's with this whole pandemic are really cold, but like on the normal days are crazy. Like if you come to Brazil and you have no enough money like to have dinner every day, you can find a meetup to go every day to meet people, and you have a lot of events coming. So a lot. Like I'm a part of the Node BR organization. We have done a lot of meetups right here. We have the Nerd Zone community, which is I am not part of anymore. Just to tell you, Nerd Zone is a Portuguese word for big nerd. Like, yeah, this is so nice. It's like a hub of communities, and like because when I was organizing, I found out like a lot of communities, like small communities, like Perl, Python, .NET was huge, but small communities for them was hard to like find places to meet people. And I said, man, we can get these people, get my content that I have for some of these companies and join them and make something fun, or just mix all of this technology. Because like I don't believe in the best language, the best programming language. So you can mix them all and it like turned huge. I don't remember, maybe 2015 or 2016 were the biggest community on the meetup or this whole South America. It was crazy, really crazy. But it was with .NET coders, which was other community that shut down, and we opened the Nerd Zone. So it's pretty big.
I'm gonna push back on you there, because we are at a JavaScript conference. You said there is no such thing as the best programming language. I would disagree. I think JavaScript quite possibly is the best programming language, but it doesn't necessarily make it the right programming language.
Right. I don't know. Maybe I would agree. The best programming language is the what you like most.
Exactly.
Yeah. My point is because like I have seen a lot of fights with PHP guys and JavaScript guys. Oh, this is not for this and not for that. I believe we are in 2020. This time we have like we can solve my opinion, this is only my opinion, we can solve most of the problems with any language. The problem is who architects, who develops, and who thinks about the software. You can use the same design pattern on .NET, in JavaScript, or so on. So my opinion, we have the tools, we have enough tools. We just might think about architecture.
You've used the important word there, tools. These things are just tools, and you choose the right tool for the right job. You wouldn't choose a hammer to bang in a screw. You know, it's that.
Sure. Yeah.
So I'm going to go sideways a little bit and say that
Mhm.
your setup and the way that you edited your video, it makes me think that you're not a new content creator. Am I right in guessing
Mhm.
that you've got things out in the wild already that people can go like, share, and subscribe?
Yeah, sure. It was my 105 talks. Like I've been doing this since 2015. Yeah, a lot of content. But I like doing in English. I I started speaking English like 3 years ago. Like I started from beginner from now, and I'm like still improving. But yeah, I've been working a lot. Like today, I work full time with content right here. I have my own company, my own training company. I give a lot of free content, and this free content brings people to buy the premium content, which brings people for the free company, and we have like a loop. So this is something I'm proud of. Like I can still give a free content, and people still buying, and we can have like a workflow work. So this is amazing for me.
Yeah. And I think it's good to see a developer doing that. So as a company, we work with content creators
Mhm.
and brands basically, but individuals as brands. Um, and my one kind of reflection on the developer community is that we all do so much awesome stuff for free. We'll put a video out there on YouTube, but we don't make the most out of it. We don't then take that and turn it into a course, or take that blog post and turn that into a video or something like that. But it sounds like you've got that sus and you've got that down, and you've turned it into presumably a very successful company. Should more developers be making more of their content and more content generally?
I did. Like myself, I started doing for I started doing content because I love to share something, and I share and I learn because like you guys who are watching at home, you may not know what we have to do to be here. Like we spend a whole like night and weekends to prepare, to search, to ask people to create it. So this is something hard, but for me it was the way to like grow on my career. So I always shared because I wanted to learn more and more and more, and I'm still doing it. So if you guys want to like be more communicative, maybe like you want to talk more to people, and you want to like negotiate if you want to deal like salary with your boss, you can start like giving content, because when you speak something that you like and you are like you are safe, I would say, to talk, like you're confident to talk, it's even better. So you start talking and thinking more about business and how to share, how to reach people, what is your audience target. All of this stuff is marketing evolved to the technology, but you can use actually for life. Like if you want to have a relationship, you have to think the same. Like if you want to find out a new company, you have to think, oh, how I will sell myself, sell in a good way in this case, to give a good presentation as well. So, I mean, all of this thing turns out that you're sharing knowledge, but your brain, your life is changing a lot because of this. So this is, I highly recommend for everyone, even for beginners. If you're a beginner, share content, because it's the like my opinion, because I start doing like this, the best way to learn something is to share. This is nice.
I would extend that and say it's especially true if you're a beginner. If you're looking for that first job in industry, having a few blog posts out there that sound like you know what you're talking about, and maybe a few videos on YouTube, you put yourself ahead of so many other candidates in doing that. That's brilliant.
Yeah, especially if you give like a summary. What's Like I've seen a guy, he just published about my talk today. He just sent a link for guys. This is the notes for all talks I've watched on City.js. Look at this. I was like, man, this is amazing. So this is really nice, really nice.
Yeah. And now he's put, or that person's put themselves on the radar of everybody else who sees that link. You've now seen their face and their name, and
Sure.
that's how it works.
Like
So
cycle, yeah.
yeah, it is a cycle. So we are fast approaching the next session, so we'll have to wrap up shortly. But I do have a few Q&A rapid fire questions for you, as well as one bonus one just for you. So we'll start with the common ones. Front end or back end?
Ooh. It's hard. For me, I am a guy who just tattooed some binary codes, so I'm more a backend. I believe, this is my opinion, I don't believe in full stacks. I believe like a specialist for each area, or like generalists who knows like deeply something, but once like I know backend, but I can survive on front end, but I'm not specialist like in front end, and both front end and back end. So I'm a guy from back end.
Okay, fair enough. I've got to say, I like the commitment with the tattoo. that's hardcore, mate. Tabs or spaces?
Ooh. Honestly, I use tabs, but I just figured my prettier. I have a prettier who was like changing everything. A lot of people start to prank myself about it, and I was like, man, I don't even know. I just like use tabs because it's usual. But at the end, the prettier was changing for spaces. So I don't have any like choice for that. I was just using, yeah,
The
like
tab
what's
keys
common
there,
for
right?
me. Yeah, yeah. It's easier to click once.
Exactly.
Economy picking, yeah.
Think how many tabs you do over your lifetime. If you have to press an extra 2 buttons at each time, it's a lot of pressing.
Imagine.
You are wrong,
Sure.
though. The answer is spaces. JavaScript or TypeScript?
This is nice. I just built a video on my YouTube channel, which is in Portuguese, but you have like subtitles there. And the title was "Why You Don't Need TypeScript." Oh, yeah. Let me explain. I don't think you need like, this is not about the TypeScript itself. I believe that the TypeScript is a superset for JavaScript. Once you know a superset, you actually know everything JavaScript provides you. So you can empower JavaScript.